Hi, and welcome into this Telstra Virtual Event. I'm Justin Cleveland, and today we are giving you a preview of the 2015 Queensland Supply Logistics Conference that takes place on Thursday and Friday, the 20th and 21st next week. The theme is building the supply chain brand, adapt, balance, and connect. And today we have some of the panelists who are going to be presenting at that conference to give you a sense of where the industry is going and give you a nice preview. Now, if you haven't already, please register for that conference at qldscc.com. There's also a link down in the resources tab at the bottom of your screen. We do want to have a conversation with you today, so please submit your questions via the Q&A box on your screen. Also, you can resize and move around those boxes however you see fit. Now then, let's go around the room and introduce our speakers. I will start in Melbourne with Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Gauchi. I'm the Head of E-Commerce Business Development for Marketplaces and Platforms for Australia Post. My role is to create partnerships with platforms and marketplaces around the world, marketplaces such as Amazon, eBay, and to integrate our shipping and tracking APIs, which we've had in market since October last year. Welcome, everyone. Thank you.
And here in Sydney is Charlie McDonald. Charlie, who are you?
Good morning, everyone. Well, first of all, next week I'm going to be trying to, manage this panel next week, and looking forward to the conference next week. I work for Telstra. I'm the Industry Executive for Manufacturing, Transport and Logistics, so I think I've got the longest title for everybody today.
Congratulations. Actually, we had to cut off Mark's. It just overran about 3 different slides. So.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Charlie.
I've been with Telstra about 3 years, and my role with Telstra is very much working with customers in this sector. I've got 2 roles, really. One is to represent our industry within Telstra and to represent Telstra within the industry. I chair the ICT Executive Committee for the Australian Logistics Council. This is one of my roles in it. And really looking forward to this webinar.
Great. And joining us via phone is Ross McKinnon. He's a Principal Consultant for the McKinnon Group. Ross, welcome in, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I was the CIO of Michael Hill Jeweller for the last 13 years until the end of last year. And Michael Hill, as you probably know, is in 4 countries, Australia, New Zealand, USA and Canada. And over that time, we had to restructure our supply chain 3 times due to changes in the customer expectations. So this is a topic very dear to my heart.
Excellent. And Tammy Scott is joining us from Queensland today. She's a Procurement Category Manager for Stanwell. Thank you for joining us, Tanya.
Oh, hi, everyone. My role within Stanwell is the head of the category management group here at Stanwell and responsible for the delivery of contracts and strategic initiatives within Stanwell.
Excellent. And we're gonna dig into some of the changes. Yeah. We'll dig into some of the changes in the procurement industry in just a minute because, I mean, there's so many technologies just disrupting that, and it's going to be very different in the next 5 years. So I'm also Justin Cleveland. I'm your host for this Telstra Virtual Event. I do have a question for you in the audience, and that is, do you have a social media strategy in your business? And that may seem a bit strange question to ask when we're talking about transport, manufacturing, logistics, all of that, but there is a reason. We'll talk about that in a minute. No, you don't? Yes, but it's not that good. And yes, and you have an excellent social media strategy in your business. While I let those results tabulate, I'm going to hand this over to Charlie McDonald to talk about some of the things in the findings from your personal supply chain white paper and some of the things you're going to be talking about at the conference next week.
Thank you, Justin. Look, next week I think we're going to, I know we'll go into more detail, and I'm looking forward to next week because hopefully we're going to get really good dialogue going with the audience. We certainly want this to be a 2-way session. I thought for this morning we would highlight just a couple of things out of the paper that we saw on the delivery. Let me give you a bit of context in this paper. We did this survey back end of 2014. The survey was very complete. We surveyed both consumers and we surveyed businesses, both small and large. This paper is the 3rd paper Telstra has published on omni-channel retail. The first one was really introducing the concept. The second one was talking about how mobility was changing the way people interact in the retail environment. And our third paper was focused more on the disruption on the supply chain. One of our underlying themes here was the consumers wanting choice and the consumers needing a variety of services. In our old world, I think that we've done very well in business-to-business collaboration. What is new now is, I think, is bringing the consumer into that collaboration circle. The slide we've got on our screens at the moment is just the result of the survey of, we just asked the question, have you ever had something go wrong with an online delivery? Mm-hmm. And look at this as this is a stunning response. Essentially, it's saying that 50% of Australians have had a problem. Now, I'm not here to pick on you, Mark, because I know you guys are doing a great job. You're in a very innovative and transforming business. However, if we flick on to the next slide, fundamentally, the problem for us is if we do have a delivery failure and we don't recover from it, what this slide is saying is if you have a failure and that service is not recovered, the consumer's not going to shop with you again. I mean, that's for us as an organisation like Telstra, for our digital channel, we know that the only human that our customer is going to be in contact with is going to be the person doing the delivery. So if that experience is bad, and if that experience does not satisfy their expectations of service, frankly, the delivery organisation is not going to be impacted. Mm-hmm. And this is, building the supply chain brand, I can tell you the brand that is impacted is Telstra's. So, our plea to, and I hear this from a number of omni-channel retailers, and we see ourselves as an omni-channel retailer. Our plea to the transport industry is, please treat our product with the same passion and care that we care about. Mm-hmm. And I know, Mark, that, some businesses out there now are working with you to doing even net promoter scores, so customer satisfaction down at transaction level, which would be really, to me, this is moving the needle from a purely cost discussion into a value discussion. Mark, do you want to comment on that slide and what Australia Post is?
Thank you, Sally. I think the first point we talk about all the time in here is the fact that Australia Post does appreciate that our services are an extension of a company's brand. We well understand that we are actually the last physical interface on someone's very important brand. It might be a Telstra product or someone else's product. So we don't take that lightly. So part of our total ambition to become Australia's leading e-commerce company is all about the features and services and the way we're doing business with our customers. An example of that is around customer convenience. We have a parcel collection network with 233 parcel lockers and over 3,500 collection points where a majority of those the lockers for sure are open 24/7. So to come to the point, Charlie, we have a privileged position. We don't want to mess that up as an extension of our customers' brands. It's very important to us. We are totally make our services available to a net promoter score. It's a very important KPI internally for us. So we are very focused on customer feedback and what people are saying about us. Yeah.
Interesting. So I just have a result from the question. Do you have a social media strategy in your business? 36.4% of you say no. 63.6% of you say yes, but it's not that great. And one of the reasons we ask that question is because when there is a problem with delivery, with the product, whatever, one of the first points of contact now is social media. And you have to be able to be ready to deal with that problem.
And we've got to deal with social media as a friend,
yes,
not as a threat. And, maybe just building on that comment is I've seen a number of organisations being really creative in the way they use platforms like Facebook and Twitter. I mean, I know one delivery organisation uses Facebook actively to find alternative delivery locations if someone's not home. So, using their friends, do you have a friend next door? Can we use Facebook, please, to contact the friend next door? That's really innovative, isn't it?
It is. Because let's be honest, I'm not likely to pick up a phone call from a number I don't recognize, but if a Facebook message pops up, I'll probably open it regardless of if I know the individual or not. That's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's good. Look, before we let everyone else loose, I've got a couple more slides. This slide is really a bit complex, but really the story we're saying, and Australia Post is one of the leaders in our market on this, is on our left-hand side, we've tried to describe the attributes associated with a home delivery, and the typical things that a delivery organisation likes is predictability, delivery density and pickup, so we can have lower unit costs. We don't want to do futile deliveries. A left card or a redelivery is cost to everybody. So what are businesses doing? And again, Mark's organisation are leading on this. So lockers, home lockers, drop-off locations, click and collect, and there's a tremendous amount of innovation. So clicks and bricks. This idea of PUDO networks, so pick up and drop off locations, which is essentially what the Australia Post retail outlets are, and of course some of the more on the cusp innovations, drone delivery. We have organisations delivering to car boots in Europe. So some really interesting stuff going on here. Maybe the panel can talk about that in a moment. Just a couple more points before we open it up. Technology is obviously changing, and the way people are tracking parcels and assets is just revolutionised in the past 20, 30 years. We're seeing a rapid adoption of active sensors now, and it's not just the good old barcode. Of course, for us, and the guy from Telstra would say it, is the real enabler now is the smartphone. And I'm not saying the smartphone just because it's one of stuff we do. The smartphone is now the platform for collaboration. It is exactly the ERP system that we collaborated on in the 80s and 90s and noughties. And it is now the platform to collaborate with your consumer.
Yeah, I may not check my mail two times a week, but I'm constantly on the phone, and I'm willing to check that to see if a package has been delivered, if there's been a problem. Again, I'm just refreshing constantly on the phone instead of just waiting until I get home and saying, oh, well, they missed me. Now I've got to figure out a way to connect with the delivery company, be it a courier, be it the post, whomever.
And I lay a question open, and I say this often, which is more important from a consignment's perspective? Is it the delivery address or the receiver's mobile phone number? Both are very important pieces of data. But with that mobile phone number, you have location and you have the platform to collaborate. And just to summarize what we think is some of the things that you need to do in this new world is yes, apps are very important. It's a frictionless engagement. Use messaging. Use rich technology like video. And of course, engage. And that information needs to be relevant and timely. Have a social media strategy and use the analytics of the data. So, sorry guys, so I've given you a brief highlight of what we were going to talk next week on.
Yeah, so and there's also a white paper available on this with just a ton of information, but I think the best thing to do is to go to the conference and actually talk it through with each other, because there's a lot of nuance and a lot of very specific situations that we can maybe look into. So I want a question for you in the audience, which is, do you use API in your business? Yes, you have a collaborative experience with partners and customers. Yes, but it's maybe a haphazard strategy. You use a few and you engage with a few, but it's not a solid strategy. No, but you want to, or no, you have no interest. And the reason I ask that is because, bringing Mark into the conversation now, Australia Post has become an API enabler. You're working with a lot of different partners and almost operating in somewhat of a vendor agnostic perspective.
Thanks, Justin. That's correct. So the drive for this is we traditionally had a one-to-one business with our merchants or our customers, which I think it's fair to say it was an inconsistent experience for our merchants. It was, labour-intensive, cost-intensive. The traditional way of being able to gain our shipping and tracking APIs, or shipping and tracking services, I should say. But as I indicated, since October last year, we have a suite of shipping and tracking APIs in the market for merchants and both for platforms.
The reason that you right there, because Linda's got the question, and that is very simply, what is an API, even at a rudimentary level?
I have to declare I'm not a technical person, but API stands for Application Program Interface, and I'm reading from an explanation. It's a set of routines, protocols, and tools for building software applications. So it's the new world. It's the world that we've decided to adopt, and most businesses. But effectively allows a company to provide a clearly defined set of services for other computer software to consume. I hope that's good enough.
That's very good. And just on our poll result, we have 55.6% of people say yes, they have a collaborative experience with partners and customers. So they're using those APIs to help engage with people, and about 44% say no, but they would like to, which is excellent.
And if I may, these days innovative organizations will consume multiple APIs to benefit their customers, and this is about ultimately providing services that they may not have been able to provide previously. So our customers, and I would suggest most people's customers, are now being able to go to a single source and buy very rich technology and very rich services at the one point, whereas previously they had to buy, say, an ERP, a point-of-sale system, a warehouse management system. And this is the companies like Telstra invested companies like Neato and BigCommerce are examples of that, but there are many more.
So how can we perhaps use an API without, overhauling our whole system? And obviously, instituting something like that in Australia Post is something of an overhaul. But how can we just start to engage with these sort of protocols that allow us to have an open relationship with customers, suppliers, and everyone really along the supply chain?
Well, I think it's a conscious decision by watching where the technology is going, but the benefit of utilizing pre-built integrations or APIs is reducing the time and cost. And again, effectively, I think the analogy is it's a pipe for you to be able to do business with a whole lot of other companies that are also have APIs. So what you are going to get as a benefit is a consistent experience, an improved user experience, and there's some of the benefits of the API over traditional methods of integration.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears a bit, because some of the things that Australia Post is doing are very innovative, particularly in dealing with that last mile delivery. We have one of your parcel lockers here at 400 George Street in Sydney. And it's a beautiful idea, that you can just have something delivered. I'm rarely home, particularly during business hours. So the idea of being able to get something delivered in a convenient place, convenient time, convenient location is excellent. But I'm also not bothering anyone here at the business. The mailroom loves it when I come down and get my wine boxes. So I want to talk about some of the things that you're doing to change that last mile of the supply chain.
Yeah, thank you. So our parcel collection network strategy is that we have at this stage 233 lockers. These are 80 bank lockers. They're one-time use. So these are about convenience. They have 24/7 access, secure and safe access. So it's about convenience. You could be driving home at 2 a.m. in the morning and pick up your parcel from a locker. We intend on rolling out more of those. And the complementary point is that we also have 3,500 collection points using our assets, which are retail points, parcel hubs, etc. But that's the physical points. The key is around first-time delivery, being able to, and the convenience of being able to pick up the parcel when you like. That's our overall strategy, totally focusing on customer convenience.
Yeah, that's great. So how has the response been from consumers?
I think we need to go to the fact of our stage in e-commerce here. I think e-commerce as a position of total retail is only about 7%. I think more mature markets, which Charlie indicated before, UK and the US is double that. So there's still a significant amount of growth that we can achieve for online. And we by far have the most number of parcel lockers, but as I indicated, we encourage more people to get online to do e-commerce, as I believe it benefits anything. So we take a collaborative approach, a partnership approach with people that we traditionally wouldn't do business with, perhaps, to grow the overall e-commerce pie. We will get our share as a result of it. So, but it's about innovation, and then there's the disruptive technologies that are making us even more focused on the irreverence, I suppose, that technology has on people. Just want to get their service. They don't mind how long they don't mind how it got there. They just want to buy a service and get it, and that's what disruptive technology is doing to us.
I think you're absolutely right that it'll go hand in hand, growth in the e-commerce industry and ease of delivery. And I think you're absolutely right by working with people. It doesn't matter who they are, if they're going to help build that industry. The two will go very well together.
Absolutely. Mark, can I just ask you a question on this open platform isn't so much as a technology thing, but it's a business opportunity. So for people on the call and for next week, what were the business challenges you had in going to this open systems? And some of them may have been internal.
Yeah, no, I would talk. I can't talk from the technology side, Charlie, but I can tell you one key from us was being cut off from our customer. So our platform integrations, paramount in the partnership is that we continue to have a direct relationship with the merchant, and we continue to get paid for our services. So the partnerships are very, very collaborative. They will generally, so these e-commerce platforms, these marketplaces will continue to charge the customers for their services, and we don't disrupt that. And we also ask that we continue to charge and have a direct relationship with the merchants. So as you know, disintermediation or being cut off from the customer is something that we don't want to do. And then the other realization was that there are some marketplaces that know more about the customer than we do. So that's why we were willing to partner as well. Those platforms have a very rich amount of customer intelligence and data on consumers and what they're buying, etc.
Gotcha.
That's excellent. So anything you'd like to add that you're going to be talking about at the conference in addition to what we've already discussed?
No, I'm a bit conscious that I'm doing the talking at the moment. I know we're going to go to the other speakers, but no, it's very exciting for us. We are very focused on making our services available where our customers want to do business, and we're very, very focused on innovation. So getting feedback from the platforms are global. So one of the advantages of doing a platform integration is that they're actually serving up our services globally. So we're connected to the world, which is a fantastic opportunity to learn from other markets.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Mark. Ross, I want to bring you into the conversation, and there's a poll question up on the screen right now, and that is asking if you engage your customers and select all that apply through a website, through a mobile app, through social media, through the traditional methods, phone, post, fax, etc., or something else. And the reason I bring that up is because you've been working through a lot of these different methods. And how do customers want to be contacted? I mean, how do they want to engage with transportation, logistics, manufacturing, and all?
So the kind of services that customers were finding, especially I spent a lot of time in the US, and they're probably early adopters over there, and a lot of the US merchants as well are probably more quickly adopting than what the Australian retailers are. There's things like endless aisle, so where a customer wants to come into a smaller store but actually see all of the product that's available, irrespective of the store size. So they want to be able to pick up from wherever they're going. They don't want to necessarily have to go to store. They may sometimes want to be at home. They want to be able to see their products, to get visualization as to where their product is. And what's happening a lot in the US, and there's plenty of material out there for people to Google, is that delivery timeframes are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And at Michael Hill, we moved our distribution facility from Canada back to Brisbane back in about 2007, 2008, and that's creating a latency for us to get the product for the customer directly to their home, and then so that's producing a lot of supply chain issues to meet the current US and Canadian expectation, the customer expectation for delivery of product. They're also expecting a lot of personalization and customization, which is also changing how we deliver that service, because we may have a provider in Hong Kong or Italy or something like that, but if we need something customized and get it to the customer within 2 days, then that's just not physically possible from Hong Kong. So the services that they're asking for that are changing, it's really putting strain upon the traditional supply chains.
I think there's a good change that just happened through Amazon, and by just, I mean in the last year or two, where they've, I don't want to say intentionally slowed down, but they've intentionally slowed down deliveries to people unless you pay for that premium, you pay for that extra, because it's changing the expectation of free overnight delivery, which is how things were going, and it's a race to the bottom. I think it's a dangerous one for everyone involved, because you're just setting expectations that are going to be unachievable as the industry continues to grow. So yeah,
the inventory.
Yeah. Charlie, do you disagree?
Sorry, go on. Go on, Ross.
I was just saying that you can do it, but the inventory overhead that you've got to provide is just prohibitive to provide a efficient business. So you can put multiple distribution facilities. The point is the API point a moment ago, that you know, in the jewelry market, there's endless amounts of stones available in the US market. There's over 100,000 stones available through APIs through the diamond merchants in New York. But you've basically got to link into those businesses and utilize those stones, and then do local setting and local customization and jewelry. It's changing your model and changing your supply chain and your logistics to meet that customer expectation. So it's quite a challenging space we're living in at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, my comment, Ross, and maybe you can, to Justin, was that the pressure isn't just free next day. Mm-hmm. Pressure's free same day.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, absolutely.
This relationship between, Mark touched on it as well. This relationship between customer expectation and the ability for us as a community to deliver is a real challenge. And when we get to start talking about procurement, it's probably employees as well that bring that expectation, don't they?
Yeah. Had a comment here from Joost about some research that was done in the Netherlands in 2009-2010. Says that they found at the time that reliability or delivery was more important than speed, which is very interesting to hear. And I think I look at it that way too. I mean, unless it is life-saving medication, it doesn't matter if my DVD shows up a day or two later. If it's in one piece, then great.
I think, and maybe Ross and Mark can comment on this. I think it is about choice, and actually, if I've said it's a day definite delivery, I'm happy to have it in 5 days. Deliver it in 5 days. Mm-hmm. If you're saying you're going to need it same day or overnight or whatever that choice is, do that. Yeah. And stick to that service commitment. I think that's what it's. I agree completely with Juice there on his comment. It's around predictability of service. Mm-hmm.
Now, absolutely. You lose brand equity if you're unable to meet your commitments. The customer expectation is whatever you tell them, and if they sign off on that, you have to meet that. Otherwise, the loss in brand equity is not worth it.
Yeah, so as we're talking about the speed and reliability aspect, there are a lot of technological changes that are happening, primarily drones. We were talking before we jumped on about how drones are completely radicalizing, particularly the last mile aspect of delivery. Talk me through some of the things that you're seeing happening and some of the things that we could perhaps, if not adopt, at least pay attention to.
Is this to me, Ross, in the jewelry world? Please. So some of the things we're seeing is there's this breakdown in jewelry designs. There's nothing stopping you these days going to an Eastern European designer for $15 an hour to build your online ring and then distribute it. You get that design and take it to your local jeweler, and he can printed out in gold, and then you can have your diamond supplied from New York through James Allen or Blue Nile at a fraction of the cost, and you can pay half for your engagement ring as what you would currently get, and it's customised directly for you, and you can walk to your local library and print it out in plastic to make sure you're happy with it before you sign off on the design and tweak and change. The whole world of connecting, you as an individual to someone who's got design skills, and no longer are you restrained by dealing with just the group that you're dealing with, the merchant who've got their designers. The world is your oyster now, and retailers have to adapt and take control of that situation, otherwise it will disrupt them.
Yeah, so what kinds of things can we do then to prevent that from happening? And obviously the jewelry industry is particularly susceptible to this because you take a picture and you can do it. It's not like it's an electronic necessarily that there's a lot of complicated pieces in it. Not to say jewelry isn't complicated, but what can a retailer do to avoid those sort of traps?
I think you need to take control of that. You can be providing the service and collecting margin and providing the 3D printers and providing the service. You could be in control of the global designers. You can have the platforms for the designs to make it easy for the consumer to come to you as the first point of call. Because if you walk in an Australian mall, there's up to 20 jewelers there. So why don't you take control of all of the global designs and people come to you rather than trying to source a designer themselves? So there's opportunities. It's literally, you're a hotel, do you join the Airbnb or do you try and fight it? So I think people have got to adapt in this marketplace.
I think that's a really good piece of counsel there, Ross. I think it's be part of the disruption.
Yeah, don't whine about it.
Yeah, don't whinge about it, but maybe leverage it. That's a really interesting comment.
The only way to win the war, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, good.
It's not even winning. It's just being able to continue to compete because we've seen so many businesses that have just gone under because they weren't willing to change, which is sometimes fine. I mean, if you're a pizza shop, the way you cook your pizzas may not change, but let's be honest, the way that people want to receive them constantly changes. I mean, you talk about Domino's just for the creation of pizza. In fact, you were talking, Charlie, a little bit earlier about how Domino's has changed the interaction between the customer and. We were just using Domino's Mogul. I don't know if our audience is familiar with the Mogul product, which is where a customer of Domino's is able to design their own pizza from a standard set of recipe items. And they're rewarded because they get rewarded with points, the more that they socialize them. So if they share that on Facebook, the more friends get liked, they get rewarded back. So there's a really interesting way of using technology to bring that consumer into that creation and collaboration world. Yeah. I think incredibly innovative. Frankly, not that much. It can't be that expensive to do either. I mean, they're using existing product and you've already got the supply. You bought the sausage, you bought the cheese. Yeah. You're just telling this what ratios to put them in on. Yeah, and a bit more of this and a bit more of that. I think it's a great example of co-creation with the consumer. No kidding. So I want to turn to you, Tanya, and talk somewhat, because we've been talking a little bit about the 3D printing aspect, and I think there's a disruptive aspect to the procurement industry with 3D printing, and I firmly believe within the next couple of years, things will be completely different. So what are you seeing through Stanwell and in your experiences with procurement? What's happening in industry?
It's been really interesting to listen to all the experiences of Mark, Charlie, and Ross this morning. I think it's safe to say that procurement in the future will look very different to what it is today. I think the things we're seeing to cope with the sorts of changes that have been discussed with disruptive technology is that procurement's actually got to step and take the lead. Look more into innovation, utilize real-time data, rather than historically it's always been, this is what we've done in the past. We've just got to be more flexible and derive the value and the benefits for both customers and our suppliers. So it's really getting in there. And I think Ross mentioned it before, being in the middle of it. And that's what we have to do rather than being I'm afraid I don't have the answers. And hopefully more of that will come out in next week's conference.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a question for you in the audience, which is, are you registered for the Queensland Conference? And just a reminder, you can register. There's a link down in the resources tab at the bottom of your screen. But Tanya, we were in the terms of procurement. Now, you're in the energy industry where there is competition, but it's not as pervasive as, say, like the automobile industry where you can get aftermarket parts and there are things that you can swap in and out. Do you see 3D printing causing any sort of changes to the way that we look at big manufacturers, particularly in the energy industry?
It may pose some interesting developments with the access or the speed of getting spares. A lot of I certainly work for a generator, so we're very much in the, power station industry. We're reliant on getting spares directly from the OEM, so the Siemens, the Hitachis, the Toshibas, that they are long lead time items. So the use of 3D technology in that space for non-OEM equipment is something that we will have to look at, I think. But then there is that question of quality, which I know that there have been some questions from our listeners about quality versus speed of delivery. So there are things that we need to look at, and for those low risk, fast turnover items, it will be ideal. For those longer time, more critical items, maybe not so much.
Can I add to that, Tanya? What we're seeing, certainly in the aerospace industry, is adoption of advanced manufacturing techniques such as 3D or additive manufacturing, and enables parts to be created which are much lower weight strength ratios. Mm-hmm. So components of a Boeing or an Airbus will be there are and will be more 3D printed components. They are worried about the moving bits. So over time, stress and fatigue of a part needs to be tested, but certainly. So I don't think the blades of an aero engine, someone might correct me, but the blades of the aero engine were not ready yet. But the bits on the, attaching the wing to the bit, there might be some really interesting stuff. And in power generation, there may be some similar sort of opportunities.
Yeah, well, it's in the same way.
Yeah, and that's
power
right.
generation. There's critical failures that can happen that are not good. So you don't want to jump into it just because the technology is there.
Sure.
Sorry, Tanya.
The other, can I ask a question to Tanya?
Please do.
Tanya, the theme of our session next week will be a lot around the sort of personalisation and individual choice. How difficult is that running, as a category manager in a large corporate power generating company? How can you respond to that? Your customers' needs, your employees' needs for personalisation of product and service?
I think it's really, and we are working towards that with our customer relationship manager, is sitting down with them and actually working out what they want. So we also have to look at the need, balance that with the needs of the business. But if we can satisfy their needs with, different methods of delivery, so panel contracts rather than, a single contract that they have to go to, letting them work with the suppliers to build the specifications rather than at the moment where it's just, Stanwell that builds the specifications. I think it's really allowing more flexibility and working collaboratively with everybody in the supply chain to deliver what we need to deliver.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, and it really comes back to sort of the theme of the conference, which is adapting, which is balancing, and it's about connecting. And it's really just about making those connections so that we all have the tools that we need and are able to do things in a very efficient manner. So I do want to remind you, if you have not yet registered for the conference, you can do it at qldscc.com. There's a link in the resources tab on the bottom of your screen. Is there anything in particular, Charlie, you're looking forward to for the conference?
Well, what I would like, if I can, I think we're probably coming to the close here. Would it be great for the people that participated today is to give us some feedback and what are the bits we're missing? I'm really excited to get Mark, Tanya, and Ross talking more next week. I think we've got some really interesting experience. We've got some very different experiences from your three backgrounds. So I'm really looking forward to moderating next week, and we should have a really good time.
Excellent. So if there will be a survey that will pop up in just a minute. We've got in there some feedback. We would love to hear what you would like to hear in the conference. You can also submit any ideas for things that you think we've missed, things that you think we should cover, anything at the conference there in the Q&A box on your screen. So I want to thank all of our guests, Mark, Ross, Tanya, Charlie, for taking a few minutes and joining us. Again, remember to register for the conference, qldscc.com. And also, there was a longer version of the personal supply chain that happened just a couple of days ago involving Charlie and Gareth Jude. And I highly recommend you check that out. It was a Telstra Virtual Event a couple of days ago. In fact, I will include a link to that in the email that comes out to you after this event. I will also include a link to the QLD-SCC because we want you to go. Very, very important that you get out to that event in Brisbane next week, the 20th and 21st. So thank you all for very much for joining us. Thank you again to Mark, Ross, and Tanya for taking some time, and Charlie as well. And we will talk again soon at the next Telstra Virtual Event.